Often we look in the mirror and we do not value or see our own reflection as ourselves. We hear these inner words that are deep seated within our soul, but do we really embrace them and embrace truly who we are? Those are some of the things topics myself and Ebonie are going to be covering today. We're going to be diving deep into this conversation that more women need to be aware of and hear. So welcome, Ebonie. I'm so happy you're here today and sharing this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I feel like this is one of those conversations that isn't had enough. And the more we can normalize this kind of thing, I think the more satisfied, happy, content, proud women that we'll have on the planet. And the more we have of them, the more wonderful things we can create together.
So true. So, I know where in the world you're from, but can you share with our listeners or audience today, where is Ebonie coming from?
So the accent's English, but I'm living in Spain at the moment.
So beautiful, sunny Spain. Something about uplifting the spirit, right? The warm weather and the sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm here. It is stormy right now, and we're waiting for the weather to get better. And so the idea of sunny Spain, I'm like, where have you gone? In a couple of weeks, just rain and rain. But normally, yes, sunny Spain.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, Ebonie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? And there's one specific message. I know you shine all the time in all your messaging. And if you can share that as well today, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so I am an award-winning coach, author, artist, facilitator. I've been self-employed my whole life, like since I was 14. I'm 41 now. And I've allowed my business to grow and evolve with me. And the kind of key message has always been about creating a life that genuinely feels as good on the inside as it perhaps looks on the outside, and allowing myself included to be freer, bolder, and happier now.
Yeah, I love that, right? Because there's so many times, especially as women, we have this desire inside of us to fulfill our passion, to do what we want, but yet we have these outer voices or self-critics within ourselves that do not allow us to follow that path, to follow what we believe in, what we have a passion for. And then there's a part of us that's never totally fulfilled or feels happiness because we're holding ourselves back. And is that something you have found over the years and with the different women or, people you work with?
Yeah, I mean, it comes up time and time again. And for me, one of the things that has become more and more clear is that we're spiritual beings having an emotional and physical human experience. And ultimately, we're missing the point if we are denying our emotions or not enjoying our bodies. And yet that's the thing that comes up so often for women of like, we're too emotional and or my body's not right. And for me, that's the piece that if we can really get inside that and understand that is the whole point of being here, then our experience really gets to shift and change.
And do you find a lot of that listening to our intuition or listening to our soul, embracing that? Do you find that comes through by making self-care and doing things for yourself, part of your daily routine? Do you find that helps you start to really define and realize who you really are?
Yeah, I'm following creativity. Like for me, self-care isn't, go ahead, have a bath, do all of the kind of things, go for a massage, have your hair done, whatever. But for me, self-care is like caring for the creativity, the full self-expression that you have. And it can be just as important, when there's something that we want to say and we haven't said it, or there's a message we want to share or a picture we want to paint. If that doesn't come out, then it's stored as frustration inside of us. And so for me, self-care is much broader than physical or even intellectual. It's really about allowing ourselves to be fully expressed. And one of the things that comes up, particularly for women around self-expression, is that if we're sharing our emotions, then we're being manipulative. right? Or like we're trying to control someone with our emotions when we're sharing them. And for me, the more I've understood that there's two kinds of sharing. There's sharing for alignment, for truth, for honesty. And then there's like a sharing to have someone do something or behave differently. And so for me, the more that you can start to tune in and be really honest with yourself, like, why am I sharing here? And if it's coming from a place of, because it feels good and truthful, and sometimes we're not sharing something that is good, it can just be real, right? But it feels good to tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's when really powerful things can shift and change.
Yeah, so true, right? You feel this weight come off your shoulders, and especially if it's been something that's been so deeply seated for years and years and years, and then you finally release it. And this weight comes off your shoulder, and whether you choose to release maybe a part of it because it's really stepping out of your comfort zone, and maybe those self-criticizing voices in your head will think, who's going to judge me? What are people going to say about me? What are people going to think about me? But I truly feel that when you honor who you are, and when you truly believe in yourself and you truly need to do this, then you end up saying to yourself, I really don't give a boom about what other people are going to say or think, because I need to validate who I am, and I need to be true to myself, because how can I honor other people if I'm not honoring myself? I love how, you mentioned something about being creative, and I love that because, and you mentioned painting, right? Because, for myself too, it's been a while since I've picked up paintbrush, but every now and then when I do, you just have the canvas, you have the paint, you have the brush, and then you just start creating. And then you find you add something else, you find something else, you add something else. And then you're done with this canvas. Is like, wow, that is just, there's something unique I find in that creation. And is that something you do yourself, making it a part of your life, Ebonie?
Absolutely. And in terms of the creation and the creativity as self-care, it is something that I just decided to make a priority. And when I first started doing it, I would have those days where I'd start and I'd put some color on some paper or whatever it was. And there was this like, it has to be good. It has to be finished. What am I creating? Or I'd be like, I don't even know what to do. And I find this with other people as well. I'm not alone. We can have conversations about this. But the more I lean into creativity for creativity's sake, really sometimes even promising myself I'm just going to screw it up and throw it away afterwards, because it's not about, is it pretty? It's about the process itself. The other day, yesterday, I started painting something with color, and then I put black on it afterwards. And by the end, I'd ruined it, but I really wanted to play. I wanted to see what happened.
Yeah.
And there's something really powerful and transformative in allowing ourselves to be curious and to experiment and to get it wrong and for it not to look pretty afterwards. And what happens when we practice that as self-care, then we become more able to do that in other parts of our lives as well.
Yeah, it's so true, right? When you look at little kids, little children, right? They play and they're creative and they're so proud of themselves, and they're not judging themselves. And it's beautiful to see, right? And how kids really just accept each other, and be really a beautiful thing if we could do that more, as a whole society, and as of each other, and not comparing ourselves as well. And there's times where we find it hard to motivate ourselves, especially in the morning. We maybe didn't sleep well and we lie there in bed and it's like, oh, what's this day going to be like? So, on those days where that happens to you, Ebonie, because we all have those mornings, what's something that gets you motivated to start your day, get out of your day and look forward to it and say, bring it on, whatever it is, it is.
What? I think it's coming back to that piece of, we're here to have a physical and emotional experience, and really having worked on, no emotions are bad, they just are. And I really like, there's a kind of more Eastern philosophy that we aren't our emotions, they're coming to reside with us. And so if I ever have an emotion that I'm not particularly fond of coming to reside with me, I'm like, oh, look, you're here. I wonder what you've got to share with me. I wonder what you've got to show me. And what will this bring me to respond to? Because I am here to respond to life. And so there will be days where I don't want to get up and I'm feeling lethargic or apathetic. And that's actually an opportunity to listen and be like, oh, that's really interesting. Why is that? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because, and I have this voice that tells me I'm lazy all the time. And actually my roommate at the moment has been flagging me on it every single time I say it, because I don't even know if I'm saying it. She's like, do you know you just called yourself lazy again? I'm like, wow, what I
Yeah.
mean is I'm quite tired. I'm going to rest. And that's
Yeah.
a real shift. So that the piece for me is deciding to come from curiosity, deciding to come from compassion and kindness, and being like, what is under this? What might get exposed, or what might I find if I allow myself to be with this emotion rather than forcing myself or trying to push through it to
Mm.
be happy or motivated or something else.
Yeah, so true, right? It's listening to what do I need right now?
Mm.
And I find too, from personal experience, when you give yourself what you need, whether it's rest, whether it's quiet time, this kind of this transformation happens inside, or this uplift happens inside, and you realize that, taking those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 seconds, whatnot, you become, I said, more kind to yourself, and in a better place, because, as people say, they become stuck, right? When we become stuck, we wonder why. And then we're not listening to all these sights, these sounds, these symbols that are constantly coming to you, and you're ignoring them, but they come
Mm.
to you for a reason. And when you
Mm.
start to recognize that, and when you, like you said, when you listen to yourself, say, okay, why am I feeling like this? What do I need right now? It brings you to a place of, I'll say more, I'll say less stressed, right? Less stressed, because you don't have all these other thoughts, you don't have all these other emotions overwhelming you. And I find that in a world where there's so much negativity around, we can be so absorbed into that, even though maybe we're saying, okay, step back, but we feel we have to be absorbed by it as well. So
Mm.
what's something you do, Ebonie, that keeps you in a place of honoring who you are, listening to that inner voice, asking yourself why, and remaining on this journey of self-love, embracing your soul, honoring who you are, and feeling more positive versus being dragged in by the negativity that may be around you?
For me, it's the commitment to getting outside in nature every single day.
Mm,
And
yeah,
it doesn't matter, it's easier when it's sunny Spain, right? If it's like today, in a minute after we finished, I will go and get it. I've been waiting for the weather to clear because it's been raining all day, but I'm still going to go out,
yeah,
because there's something so magic and so powerful about being in nature. And yeah, whether I'm being blown around by the wind, or whether I'm getting to see the beauty of the sunlight on the sea or on the
yeah,
beach, when I go every day, I get to see the cycles as well, and the seasons, and I'm reminded that everything changes,
yeah,
and that everything comes with things I enjoy and things I don't enjoy, and that this too shall pass. Like, I might not enjoy the rain, but tomorrow there'll be sunshine, and
yeah,
nothing is static, nothing stays the same. And that really helps me to be with whatever it is that I'm feeling, because I know it will shift, I know it will change. I like to see my emotions or my state as like weather, and I can be with the weather one day, but it doesn't mean I am the weather, right?
yeah. Oh my gosh, nature is so powerful. Living in Canada, we have winter. And we love the winter this year. We have so much snow. And yeah, we get outside every day for a walk. On weekends, we go for 2 to 3 hour hikes on what we call the Bruce Trail, beautiful trails. And you're right, you need to get out without not giving the excuse of the weather
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy nature, because you're right, when you're out there, there's something so beautiful about it. This, and last week when my husband and I were walking, we were commenting how the weather has been so beautiful, the winter, and there's something unique and beautiful about the snow in nature, right? And we're lucky enough to have the different seasons. It's like, you see, is like you said, you see the seasons and the beauty of it. And there's something so tranquil and calm. And even if it's -30 with the wind, right? Once you get in the forest, you're blessed by the trees sheltering you from that extreme cold wind. And
Yeah.
that is, you can maybe get in tired and maybe feeling stressed. By the time you're finished, and you're back in the house, but you have been in nature, there's something so calming and so, I mean, we have to be grateful, right, of our surroundings. We have to be grateful of what we have and take, I don't want to say take advantage, but it's here for a reason for us to enjoy. So I
Mm.
love how you do not let the weather stop you, and that you mentioned it's the enjoyment of seeing the changes of the season, just like we as people go through changes ourselves. But in the end, we still embrace nature, and we need to embrace ourselves as well and honor, what we need. So yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. And do you find too, Ebony, that that this is a journey that you've been on, and do you feel as well it's a journey that's going to continue every day?
Yes, 100%. I don't think there's any time in our lives that we can get complacent around, or that we stop growing and learning and shifting and
Yeah.
changing. And particularly, I mean, as every human, but particularly as women, as soon as you think you figured out your cycle, or you figured out your skin, or you know what feels good to eat, it changes. And then you're like, oh, now I know nothing. And so the more that you're able just to accept you know
Yeah.
nothing, the more enjoyable it can be,
Yeah.
and choosing rather than getting frustrated about it. And I was for years. I was like, why doesn't my body do what I want it to? And now I'm like, oh, hey, buddy, what else have you got to teach me? What else
Yeah.
have you got to show me? And that's a mindset shift, an energy
Hmm.
shift, an attitude shift that, yeah, that leaves me more resourced. And as you said earlier, less stressed. Yeah.
Yeah, so true, right? That we need to realize that, we're the way we were today, we're not going to be tomorrow, and we definitely weren't yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And to honor yourself, what you need each day, and to make sure, right, in your calendar, make it a part of your daily routine, make it a part of your lifestyle, that every day you give yourself what you need and you make time for yourself and say, okay, what do I need right now? And I always tell people that it doesn't need to be complicated, because when we make it complicated, then we do not do what we need to do, and we stop honoring self and giving ourselves what we need. If we just take a moment, look outside and just focus on what's happening outside, if we take a moment, catch your breath, and just release and say, okay, what do I need right now?
Yeah. And for
When,
me, it's about what's the path of least resistance?
yeah,
Oh, I don't want to do an hour workout. Okay. How do you feel about a 15-minute walk?
yeah,
Yeah, that feels like okay. And
exactly.
it's so easy for us to get caught up in what we didn't do. But when
Yeah.
we are focusing on what we didn't do, then we're not looking at what we did. And
Hmm.
taking a 15-minute walk in nature is way better than doing nothing because you
Yeah.
didn't want to do an hour, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's always that baby step, right? And when you take that baby step, no matter how small it is, like you said, oh, I didn't work out. Well, I'm going to go 15-minute walk. Is that not reason to celebrate? Because you still honored yourself. You still did what you needed to do, today. And that is a huge baby step, because you could have said, well, I'm not going to do a thing. And then you get really angry, and then that cycle starts, right? But yeah, it's those baby steps. It's embracing yourself. It's looking in the mirror, loving that reflection that stares back at you. And I'd say definitely believing and loving who you are, loving who you are and embracing who you are, and giving yourself what you need, right? So you shared beautiful wisdom and insight, and I loved how, Ebony, that underlying message I kept on hearing, which was beautiful, is honor yourself, embrace yourself, give yourself what you need, be creative, you know, do what you need today, get out in nature. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to stretch, stretch, but give yourself what you need every day. Those are the key messages I'm hearing. Is there something, you haven't touched base and you want to definitely, mention today?
For me, it is really getting to know who you are underneath the conditioning and the expectations, like what I call your wildish and true essence, because
Yeah.
underneath, you know, what school told you, what your parents told you, what culture told you, you exist. And so often I find that people are a little bit scared to discover who they truly are. And who they truly are is this beautiful, wild and true essence. We
Yeah.
get back to what you were talking earlier about kids and how they, you know,
Yeah.
they're just so incredible at moving through emotion and being with their own physicality and being in the present and in the now. And coming back to not to being childlike, not childish, you know, and there's a real difference there.
Yeah. So true, right? We often think we can't, but you can. You can allow yourself, give yourself permission to make it. And you know, you mentioned earlier as well that, you know, you something that you've kind of, I'll say, challenged yourself with is calling yourself lazy all the time. And you're realizing you do more often, right? So are you finding that, you know, has been something that has been one of your biggest challenges, or is there something else that you find you're kind of struggling with and it is a challenge right now?
You know what? That one, like I so much of my life has been defined by this drive not to be lazy,
Mm,
to get stuff done. And I've been hugely productive throughout my life. And I find it is a challenge to allow myself to be softer, to be
mm,
quieter, to be
nice.
stiller, you know, all of those things. And yet when I truly allow myself to do that, there is so much magic waiting for me. But
Mhm.
it is it's my most powerful inner voice, you know, critical voice
Yeah,
yeah. What are you
yeah.
doing? You should be doing something. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
y-
late.
yeah, you know what, it goes back to what I hear people say, and I see it, and you know, I tell them it's like it's okay, where they can't turn themselves off, or they find it's a struggle to turn themselves off, and they feel they always need to go, 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 go. And it's like, whoa, step back and like take 5 minutes just to catch your breath.
Yeah.
And it's the
I,
words you said, right? The stillness, the calmness, the quietness. I love those three words that you mentioned.
mm, thank you. Yeah, I noticed the other day that sometimes I use it as it's become a catch-all.
Hmm.
So, you know, like I said, my roommate is flagging this for me at the moment because I don't always know if I say it. And I said, I'm so late, you know, I don't want to do that. No, what did I say? I'm too lazy to do that. Right. So there's been a big storm. There's sand on the terrace that we had. The sun had come out and I wanted to go and sit up there. And she said, well, we could just clean it. And I was like, oh, I'm too lazy to clean it. And she said, you're too lazy to clean it? And I was like, no, I just don't want to.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
being really honest with ourselves as well. Like, is it that you're too lazy to do it? Or is it that you just don't want to? I'm like, you know
Yeah,
what? I don't want to do that right now.
yeah.
That's okay.
It's
Yeah.
that mirroring back, right? Oh my gosh, I hear it, you know, from women clients all the time. I'm listening to them and then I mirror back what they said, and they don't even realize in the context of how they put it. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like that is your true inner self you thought was no longer there. Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's beautiful when we allow someone else to hear what we truly feel, because then it kind of brings awareness, like, yeah, wow. So yeah, it's something beautiful when it does happen, right? So there's these actually four last questions I'm looking
Okay.
really forward to asking you, Ebony, because we're learning a little bit more of a deeper side of you, I'll say. You know, in life, there's always quotes that we seem to really value, maybe live by, and have in the back of our mind. So,
Mhm.
what's one quote, Ebony, that you absolutely just love and you tend to live by?
It is. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
Hmm.
And I think that
Nice.
really goes back to what we were talking about earlier of like, this too shall pass.
Hmm.
And yeah, my experience is that when we're in the middle, but it's really easy to be like, this is not okay, this is not okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end, and it will be okay in the end. And
Yeah.
what I have found is that even if something ends or doesn't work out how we wanted it to, or all of those things that are difficult, when it really is the end, we've normally found peace with it. We've normally, it stops being not okay. We
Yeah.
reach a place where we're like, okay, I'm okay with this. There's a
Yeah.
level of acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. So true, right? I believe too, if something doesn't work out or doesn't pan out, then it wasn't meant to be, because there's a bigger path for us out there, right?
Mm.
And this didn't work out because there's something else. You just need to allow yourself for it to happen, right? And see the path that you're made for greater things, and there's something out there that's waiting for you to be discovered by, right? Beautiful. Advice. What's the number one advice that you can
Mhm.
share with our audience and listeners today, Ebonie?
You know what? I think I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Get
Yeah.
to know who you are underneath the conditioning and expectations, because
Mm,
your wild and true essence is absolute magic and magnetic, and we want to see more of her.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Release her, allow her to shine, right? What's deep inside her soul, embrace her. Oh, love it. Now, if this was the last day of your life, Ebonie, what
Mhm.
is one thing that you would be grateful for?
What I really struggle with this, because it's all of it. It's the experience. It is all of the emotions, all of the physical experience, just the incredible range that I have been able to live, especially with the world having been through what it has in the last couple of years. Like, I am so grateful to have traveled, to
Mm,
have been in so many different cultures, to have met so many different people, and I'm just so grateful for the range that it and what is possible for us. I think so many people think there's only one way to live, and we must, do a certain school, do a certain relationship, do a certain career, and that's just not true. I'm so grateful for the width and the depth of my life.
oh, beautiful, beautiful. One last question here. So, throughout our life, people give us advice. So, what's the best piece of advice someone has given you?
I always come back to a question that my dad asked me once, which is, and even if you are that, can you love and accept yourself?
Mm,
And I was telling him, someone called me selfish, or someone said this, or someone said that. And he said, and even if you are that, can you love and accept yourself? And so on the days when I am struggling, when I'm finding it difficult to be a human being, I always come back to that piece of advice, which is essentially, what he was saying is, can you love and loving and accepting yourself is all that really matters. The rest is irrelevant.
oh, that is so, so true, right? So,
Mm.
so true, because when you accept yourself, you no longer see your faults as
Mhm.
faults. You see them a part of what makes you unique and special.
Yeah.
And thank goodness you're not like anybody else. So
Yeah.
that is powerful, because it truly has you look deep within your soul,
Mm.
and to realize that you're here for a reason, and to just accept who you are and believe in yourself. Truly
And
beautiful messages.
until you do, you're always going to be trying to prove something, or
Yeah.
and that energy is frustrating. It's not
Hmm.
satisfying. And ultimately, what we want is to live a satisfying life. And the only way to do that is to, accept that we all have flaws, that we find things challenging, that we find things difficult, that not everyone's going to like us, all of those things. But can you love and accept yourself? And
Hmm.
for me, once that's freedom. Once you can do that, once you are okay with yourself, nothing else matters.
So true, right? Because and I think that's something from our own personal view, that's something that happens once you truly discover who you are. You know, when I think about my younger self, you know, you felt that, or I felt I need to be like someone else to do this and whatnot. And then, you know, when I, you know, I'm in my 50s now, when I was 25, kind of, I had this light bulb moment. And I just said, okay, whoa, I need to discover who I am, what I want in life, and truly, truly find out who I am. And once I did that, and like I said, I've been on this path for, you know, over 20 years, 25, almost 30 years. And it's a path that will always continue. And it's when you allow yourself to discover who you are in every part of your being, that is when that you know, imposter syndrome, whatever, is not, I mean, she'll always be there. But the fact is you start to not allow her to overtake you, right? You start, it's like, yeah, I hear you. However, I am, and you list off all the wonderful things about you. So yeah, some deep, deep insight we've had in our conversation. I love it. And you know, that's one of the reasons I created Mindful Conversation podcast, is because I need to have the women around the world hear guests like yourself and sharing the same messages, you know, and similar messages that I do, that truly love who you are. And this is a journey, and to embrace your soul and to know that you're not alone. And these struggles, it happens with all of us.
Yeah.
But to realize you're worth so much more, and to create baby steps on a daily basis. Get out in nature, give yourself what you need, and love yourself, believe yourself through and through. So if you love the messages Ebonie and myself have shared, please subscribe to my channel so we can go ahead and further have other women around the world discover this podcast. And Ebonie, I want to thank you very much for being a guest, sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge, and being here on this conversation about embracing your soul. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm so happy that your podcast exists in the world.
Oh, thank you. And you know what I'm going to say, when you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened, because there's always something wonderful out there. And you wake up in the morning, feel grateful, and thank yourself for getting to live another day. This is Tanya Otterstein-Liehs saying thank you. Continue to shine your light. Bye now.